Oh, right now?
If you want to.
Happy July Pod. Caw! It's because that wasn't really giving Eagle, and I was kind of wanting it to give Eagle. Definitely don't let the people see that tiny little baby eagle.
Tiny
Anyway,
little baby eagle. We love it. And we're back with our all new episode of News You Can Use, a podcast by PA Stands Up about Pennsylvania, people, power, and politics. I'm your host, Edwin, and I go by he, they pronouns, and I'm Director of Narrative Strategy here at PA Stands Up.
and I'm Hannah. My pronouns are she, they, and I'm the digital organizer here at PA Stands Up.
It's July in PA, the air is thick, the fireworks are over, and this year, Independence Day feels a little bit different for me. In some parts of the United States, people are celebrating what America means on the surface level. Performative independence, if you will. But my friends and I were steadfast on casting a shadow on that. Instead of blindly leading into the red, white, and blue, we took time to reflect on the past events of this year and how America is comprised of many different people. There's an underlying narrative about who is and isn't a real American. And I'm here to tell you today, dear listeners, that this is all BS. America is a country of immigrants, of people who came here seeking freedom and people who had their freedom stolen from them and were enslaved by the hands of our founding fathers. As a Black American, I carry this duality with me because, like many, this country is all I know, and our ancestors helped rebuild this place brick by brick after colonization, and I refuse to let a false rendition of American history tell me otherwise.
Yeah, it's tough to buy into the fireworks, flags, hot dogs, and blind pride. The freedom that we think of when it comes to the 4th was never for all of us. It was designed for the few, white, wealthy, and landowning men. The rest of us, with marginalized groups leading the efforts, have always had to fight for the scraps of liberty, and the real patriots have always been the ones pushing back and fighting for more for all of us.
Exactly. Patriotism isn't compliance, it's resistance. And the only thing more ingrained in us Americans than individualism is rebellion. We are not people who historically go quietly. The way to honor our legacy, keep challenging oppression. Our founding is a reminder of revolution, defiance.
That's crazy. Something about government rulings that aren't in the best interest of the people. It's sounding a little familiar. I think I might have heard this story before. Despite that rebellion, our founding still excluded most of the country. The indigenous population that we pushed out of the way, Black folks brought here under enslavement, women, and poor folks. The promise might have been liberty, but the delivery was selective.
Clearly, we're still carrying that contradiction today, and we have to decide which part we're upholding. This month is a great time to be a little patriotic, and that means going back to our roots and resisting the government decisions doing damage to our communities. Whether that's making an effort to report ICE in your community or calling your representatives as often as you can, these sorts of efforts couldn't be more patriotic this year.
So let's talk about what needs resisting because there's just so much to go around lately. And we all know what starts at the top, what was signed into law on the 4th this year, Trump's big, fugly bill. It targets immigrants, reproductive rights, healthcare, trans folks, educators, and dissenters. It guts vital programs, fuels the broken deportation machine, and feeds more money into ICE's already bloated operations. It's not just cruel, it's strategic, it's authoritarianism in action. We're talking about huge cuts to Medicare and Medicaid. We're looking at defunding rural hospitals, adding work requirements to qualify for care, and extra verification for disabled and low income Americans everywhere. SNAP and other assistance programs are taking hits as well. The military will receive an additional $150 billion. I'd like to see that audit. And ICE will get a cool $100 billion. To put that in perspective, the existing annual budget for ICE was about $8 billion. Yes, single digit, $8 billion. And the funding boost makes ICE the largest federal law enforcement agency. Interesting. You got to start your own police force when you're doing fascism, right? The additional funding will be used to nearly double migration detention capacity in the US and hire more enforcement personnel. We've already seen President Trump's disgusting, dehumanizing behavior, bragging and joking about the concentration camp he opened in Florida.
Before he lost his spine about it, PAC-funded Representative Brian Fitzpatrick voted no on the big fugly bill and ran out of Congress in a little viral moment, but ended up voting yes in the end, along with 10 other paid Republican House members. This is why it's so important to call and write representatives. The more vocal resistance, the more protesting, the more showing up and demanding change, the more likely the right will consider breaking ranks. It's not perfect and it won't always work, but we gotta look at the big picture and how much your little bit of effort can go a long way to make change.
Exactly. There are so many people at risk. Your neighbors, your coworkers, your queer friends, your disabled family members, all of us, including yourself. The idea of America as being reshaped by white Christian nationalist ideals, it's not about partisanship. It's about the erasure of America's history being the melting pot of the world and a shift to a much more conservative future that we've seen and battled before, where a few rich white men hoard money and resources to try to keep us from coming together and wielding our collective power.
So, in addition to calling and emailing your reps, there are a few other things that you can do to help fight back, particularly in regarding to ICE. IceBlock is an app that allows users to see something, tap something to report sightings. StopIce.net is a nationwide text bank alert system with over 478,056 total subscribers that crowdsource localized reports. We're also thankful for and contribute to organizations like Make the Road and CASA that work tirelessly to defend immigrant rights and getting Latin Day communities involved in local politics.
There's a great resource for Know Your Rights materials on the Immigrant Defense Fund Project's website, which we'll link in the episode notes.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed. This moment is overwhelming, but that's when movements are born. When people decide that they're done tolerating injustice. When my husband was deported underneath the last Trump administration, I decided then and there that I would do everything in my power to advocate for people going through similar situations as mine. I just want to say, if you're going through a rough go, you are not alone. Reach out to your loved ones, friends, and neighbors. Remember that real patriotism is showing up in city halls and school boards, at rallies, at the polls, in the hard conversations with our families and community members, in the cold calls and emails to people in power.
Resistance is showing up, even when it's not convenient, even when it's hot, even when we're tired, even when nobody's looking, especially when nobody's looking. In July, we're reclaiming our time. We're reclaiming our power and reclaiming our country. The MAGA movement isn't what America stands for. So let's make July about showing up for each other because we're not free until everyone is free. And that's why we're so excited for our special guest today. Omar, welcome to the News You Can Use podcast. And Sarina, my love, welcome back. Can you all tell our audience a little bit about yourselves? Tell us how you got involved with Make the Road and PA Stands Up. Omar, let's start with you.
Like you said, my name's Omar. My pronouns are he, him. And I've been involved with Make the Road for about a year at this point. I started as a canvasser. Uh, I was, put with the opportunity because I didn't have a job at the time. The place that I was working at just went bankrupt out of nowhere. And I became very involved. I started working during the presidential elections, slowly got more involved with the rest of the staff, eventually got offered a position as a field organizer. And a few months ago, I was put up for the position for the Hazleton organizer, which is what I wanted to do from the very beginning.
Congrats. Well, welcome aboard. We're happy, obviously, to be in coalition with you always. Sarina, can you refresh everybody and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. Really grateful to be back. My name is Sarina Torres, and my pronouns are she, her. I am the movement politics organizer with Pennsylvania Stands Up. I currently work in the Lehigh Valley chapter as well as the Northeastern chapter, and I got involved because I was actually an endorsed candidate for the Lehigh Valley chapter, and then I decided to take a job when that didn't work out, and I've been here for about 2 years now. So happy to be back with Hannah and Edwin and to meet Omar today.
Love that. And thank you both for being on our podcast. And we're going to dive right into these questions. So, I'm wondering if you could explain a little bit more about your roles. And for Omar, can you tell us a little bit more about Make the Road and what you do? And we'll start with Omar because he's the guest here.
So Make the Road is a mostly immigrant and Latino organization. We've been working with immigration justice in Pennsylvania for about around a decade, and our sister organizations have been doing it in other places for about 25 years. We have a membership of around 14,000 people all across the state, and yeah, we've been doing mostly work that has to do with immigration and education justice, as well as workers' rights.
That's awesome. And I'm also like goals. Like we want to be there one day too, being stands up. And Sarina, you said you're a movement politics organizer, but like what does that mean?
Thank you, Edwin. Movement politics organizing is mainly around elections and electoral work, but through people power, right? So, like, no one person is coming to save us. We all know that when they're elected to office. But by creating movement politics teams and then having people help get working class people elected to office, we then have a path to co-govern with them, which makes it a lot easier to get a lot of our initiatives passed and things like that, which for me personally, it's very interesting that we have movement politics organizers and local organizers. So we don't actually have to stop doing any of the buckets of work throughout the year. We kind of like split on a path and then we meet up after election season, which I think is pretty special type of work we're doing.
Thank you both for sharing. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure the listeners do too. As you both know, the theme of this episode is freedom. So, on that theme, we wanted to know, what does freedom mean to you? Omar, let's start with you.
Freedom is just the ability to be ourselves, regardless of any difference that we might have from the norm, uh, whether that comes from our gender identity or what culture we're from. Just the ability to exist without feeling attacked for those things. Recently, of course, that has been harder than usual. Not that it's ever been easy, but yeah, we've all we can do is work toward a world that where we can all be ourselves.
Love that. Yeah, and very, very topical right now, especially. Sarina, what does freedom mean to you?
Omar, that is very hard to follow up. I feel like you hit the nail on the head. I obviously agree with you that freedom is simply just being able to exist. I usually tie it back to some more like personal sort of aspects. I think people should be able to walk freely in their streets and not have to worry about being hurt because of their color, being hurt because they are walking into a gay bar. I think people have the right to go out and enjoy their neighborhoods and feel safe, and they have the right to go to the hospital and be taken care of and not to be punished or to be looked down upon because they need help. So I think mine is like a little bit more literal, but I definitely agree with you that it's just the essence of being able to do things without restrictions. Um, and also creativity, right? Like, be free to be creative. I think a lot of our movements and stuff have been started through people finding creative ways to work through the things that have been placed on us. So I think creativity and the arts are also a big part of being free in this society.
100%. I totally agree. Earlier in this episode, we were speaking about like what the 4th of July means and like how it feels this year. So our next question is kind of related to that around like freedom, America, hoorah type vibes. So my question for y'all would be like, what does patriotism look like when your government turns on you? So like, how do people navigate that? I know we're seeing that right now, actively happening. So I'm wondering from your standpoint, like, what does that look like when your government's turning on you? How do you continue to be patriotic in this crazy, crazy time that we're living in? Um, Serena, let's start with you since we started with Omar last time. We'll reverse it a little bit. Let's go around.
Thank you, Edwin. Community. I think that when I think of patriotism, it's not like, woo, America rocks, like we're doing the best possible thing ever and we're better than everybody. It's like the people that you live on the same streets with, and like taking care of each other, that's patriotism. Like actually giving a fuck about what's happening to other people, even if it doesn't affect you, is patriotism. And standing together and going to different rallies and different things and educating yourself on things that have nothing to do with you, and not turning a blind eye just because you feel like your government hasn't turned on you, but it's turning on people that you love or people that you know. I spent the 4th of July at a barbecue at a local park in Allentown, and we weren't really celebrating anything other than being together. And I feel like that's special, and that is our country, and that's community. That's what it was built on, right? All of the movements and different things is community is at the essence. So I feel like that's a great way to be patriotic without like overdoing America.
Totally resonating with that. We're not overdoing America, but we're still here, patriotic, and in our communities. Same question for you, Omar. What does patriotism look like when our government's turning on us?
Uh, First, I want to preface I'm not American. I was not born here. I did not grow up here. I moved here pretty recently. So, any American patriotism, I don't really have any of that on a personal level. But when it comes to what I see my community have, it's, it's similar to what Sarina said. It's this idea that we as a community can all live together, you know, in peace, all being ourselves. And that is what people need to strive for. And of course, I feel like a lot of people maybe don't treat it that way. But for me, the idea of patriotism is that trying to make your own country as good as possible. So when you say, I'm proud of, in this case, being an American, you can mean it.
Definitely resonating with that because it doesn't always feel like we can be proud right now. And like, I'm thinking about how being patriotic isn't celebrating the colonizers who came here and the, straight rich white men who owned land and had all the power, but the people who rose up against them, primarily BIPOC people, and celebrating that history, um, and, you know, following in their footsteps and organizing through this time. Um, so, my next question for you all, can you tell us a little bit about working in coalition with partner organizations like Make the Road and PA Stands Up, and how that impacts the work that we all do? Omar, let's start with you.
I love working in coalition with organizations. I've met great people in the other orgs that I've worked with. Uh, they have mostly been other, people of color and people that I'm in community with already. So yeah, it's just been great being around people that agree with the way that I see things going and that understand just how bad things not only are but were. And yeah, just it's good being around people that make you know that you're not going crazy for noticing all of the stuff that's going around.
100%. Yes, we need to support each other physically, mentally, organizationally right now, and we're much more powerful together. Sarina, what about you? What's your experience been with working in coalition with our partner orgs and our communities?
Yeah, mine's a little bit different. Obviously, all of our organizations have different priorities, same values, different priorities. So being able to work in coalitional spaces where like we're all working towards something, but we all have different priorities in it, and then we can like help each other out so we don't have to start something from scratch is amazing. So every time I have or see someone brings an idea to me or I see a need for something, I always like double check like, oh, is someone already moving this type of work? And if they are, how can I help them? Because people are interested in this. So I think of it like an octopus, right? There's so many different tentacles and we each have one, right? And there's like no one is better than the other, but by working together and knowing other local organizers and like directors and everything and just like being in that coalitional space makes this type of organizing run more smoothly. We were just part of a coalition in Allentown for the Allentown City Council slate. It's the most progressive slate the city's seen in the last, like, I'm going to say 20 years. I'm only 24, so I'm going to only put it back to 20 years. But yeah, to be part of that is like so amazing, and to see how like we can all do different types of work. Like Make the Road did Spanish and English translations for people who were coming to door knock. We recruited like our people too, and then we also like I helped give trainings in English, and WFP Working Families Party like bottom lined a lot of it, like gave a lot of hand-to-hand training. Also, like a big thing is like we all have different types of funding, right? Like the other side is consistently trying to cut our funding. So by working together, we're making sure that we're using our resources to the best of its ability. And I think although like community and coming together is the best thing, I want to win for my people. Like I want to be strategic, and I want to take some of that power back so that we don't have to like fight as hard. So I think when we work together in these coalitional spaces, it makes things just run more smoothly, and I really enjoy it from like a movement politics standpoint. I'm sorry, it always goes back to that for me.
No, that makes total sense. And like we've been saying, we're so much more powerful together. Why start moving work when you have great orgs in your area who are already doing that when you can support them? I know you were part of a little something earlier this year, passing the welcoming city policy in Allentown as well. And I know that was a coalitional effort. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I'm sorry. There are many different coalitional spaces existing in my brain at all times.
No, that's a great problem to have.
Yeah, I automatically go to movement politics work. But so earlier this year in Allentown, there was a welcoming city policy that was passed, basically saying that Allentown will not collect data and report its residents to ICE, although if they still have like a valid like I forget what it's called off the top of my head. It's signed by a judge. Edwin, you're the lawyer.
A warrant? Are you talking about a warrant?
I'm sorry. It's late in the day. But if they still have a valid like federal warrant, then Allentown cannot step in. But by creating the welcoming city policy, we no longer hold data on residents and report, and the police don't work with ICE unless it's obviously on a federal level. But through that, so our city councilwoman Cece created the bill, and our city councilwoman Natalie Santos co-signed the bill. But they went into that meeting with 2 votes that were yes and another maybe, and the rest of everyone else was going to vote no. And we sat there for over 3 hours with 150 people and went through public comment, and they actually reworked the bill literally like live in front of us, or I would say ordinance, I apologize. And through that, the coalitional spaces, it was like Make the Road, LVSU, and then there was also WFP, and I believe a group from like queer diocese. I don't actually remember the name. I apologize for that. But yeah, it was like a bunch of different groups like that. And then there was just people from the community who just care and just come to these sort of meetings. So after political pressure, 3 hours of it, and 150 people, a lot of people were waiting outside to speak as well, and like rotating in and out, right? They were able to pass that bill, and without the coalitional space and without like coming all together from different parts of Allentown and the Lehigh Valley, people came from Easton, people came from Nazareth, people came from all over to support this ordinance to make sure that immigrants were safe here. So yeah, it would not have been possible without all of us.
Yeah, that's what we love to hear and love to see. Like, it's going to collectively take all of us to make the change that we want to see in this world. So thank you both for amazing work that you're continuing to do out there, because that's awesome. Speaking of ICE, earlier in the show, I was telling folks about like how underneath the last Trump administration, my husband was deported. And this go around, I am seeing that the ICE raids in all of our communities are looking a little bit different. So my next question for y'all is, There have been a lot of different ice raids in both of our communities in the Lehigh Valley as well as up in NEPA. So, how is the community responding, and how can we support our neighbors? Let's start with Sarina. How can we support in this crazy time that we're living in?
Yeah, just to make a note, sometimes you're not going to know if your neighbors are undocumented or not because it's not something that people want to disclose to other people. So I would always approach conversations with a very deep, compassionate like aspect to it, because you never know who you're talking to, and your version of what an illegal immigrant, as they say, would look like is not actually what it could look like on a day to day. But I know that Allentown launched an ERN number, so you can actually call in to this network where you can report ICE sightings and things like that. And there's also an ICE watch where people have been like following ICE cars and like posting the people's faces, and people have been showing up. And because we have an emergency response network, they like have been doing these mass trainings. We're also part of that coalition as well. Jillian really underlines that. I love her for that. Jillian is my counterpart in LVSU. So thank you to her for that. But yeah, they've been doing mass trainings. We have red cards so people know their rights. And also we have people who go out and are disruptors, people who go out and just like will stand there and be like, we're looking at you, we're watching you. And then a couple of them have been chased off as well, ICE cars, so that they could stop harming people from our community. We also had a couple rallies when they kidnapped 12 people from a work site in Bethlehem. So there's been like an over like reaching amount of support from the community currently. We also went to the Bethlehem City Council meeting after that, and they voted to move public comment to the end so that people would leave, and they waited. And the meeting was, I was there till like 10 p.m. And they were demanding that the city find out where the residents were taken. So they have been moving a lot of different pieces, but we are here and we are supporting.
That's really powerful, Sarina. Thank you for sharing that. Same question for you, Omar. Like, how is the community responding, and like, how can we support our neighbors in this wild, wild ass time?
There are groups knowing know your rights. We Make the Road have been doing them all across the state. And then there's also the issue that in the government in Hazleton, the city government has already said that if ICE wants to go in, they will help in every capacity. I'm not fully sure what the Wilkes-Barre government, which is a city about 25 minutes out of Hazleton, has said, but I don't imagine it's too different. Like Sarina said, there are coalition spaces that have been working on response networks and on know your rights groups and telling people how to do family planning. So that's mostly what it's been. There are also response networks in Philadelphia where we also do work. I believe Juntos released one recently. So yeah, that's how it's mostly been dealt with.
Thank you, both of you, for your really thoughtful responses, and like having these important conversations about what's going on and how we can protect each other and why we need to protect each other. If you could say one thing to people who don't think that this affects them, what would it be? Sarina, I'll pick on you.
I was definitely hoping Omar could go first, but
Wait, we can run it back.
no. Thank you, Hannah. I think this is a really important question. You don't have to be directly affected by something to morally object to it. And I think that stands with every single part of basic human decency. And we should use that moral code to live our life as humans.
100%. Omar, same question for you. What would you tell folks who don't think that this affects them?
I would tell them that they're wrong. This does affect everybody. Even if you have white privilege protecting you, male privilege protecting you, even if you're not a queer person, if you're not yourself an immigrant. The fact that this country is taking the direction that it is, which it's been like this for quite a while, affects everybody. Everybody is going to be negatively affected. It won't just be us, the people of color and immigrants, that are going to be taken out. We won't be the only ones that suffer. Even if you want to look at it from a selfish stance, you still should act against the things that are going on. Because, yeah, nobody will be spared.
I think that's such an important message because one thing I've really been thinking about lately is once they move from one group to the next group to the next group, who's going to be left? They're going to be standing there looking at it and be like, all right, who's not a cis white male? And that's something that I really want people to focus on of like, it's going to take all of us to stop this from happening. And it's going to actually, all of us are going to be affected by this because I don't know, our economy is built on just resilience and our communities working collectively together. So if part of our communities are being disappeared and other people are being told that they're not welcome in certain places, what do you think is going to happen to the rest of America? Even if you're just thinking about your own self-interest, it's just all of this is going to be like a dominoes effect. But I'll get off my soapbox now. um, so we'll dive into the next question, friends. So thinking about your organizing and the work that you're moving in your respective places, like what can people do right now in their own towns to protect each other and to start making changes? Omar, we'll start with you. And I know we started talking about this, but I'm curious of like in your organizing, like what can folks do to make sure they're protecting each other?
Uh, so, on a more vague sense, people could start being just kinder to their neighbors, being willing to show that their community is welcoming to everybody. And on a more, I want to say, uh, realistic sense, just volunteer. There are response networks popping up all over the place. Earlier, I mentioned the one in Philadelphia. There's one in Allentown, as Sarina mentioned earlier. There's they're popping all over the place. People in our communities are, as we have all the time, we're protecting each other. So doesn't matter if you are not part of the group that is being currently targeted, volunteer, go out and help, put your body out there. Yeah, I feel that would be what I would tell people.
100%. Yes, definitely put your bodies out there because uh, we know some folks are going to be treated differently than other folks out on the front lines, and it's up to the people who have privilege to put their bodies out there to like stop this shit from continuing to happen. Um, and Serena, my love, same question for you. What can people do right now in their towns, in their communities to protect each other?
Yeah, I would first say to like look up who your local representative is, especially like your reps, your city council people, your school board, people who are making direct decisions about and around immigration in your city every day. A lot of people wouldn't have known about the welcoming city policy if we didn't organize and post about it, and access to information is a real thing. Also learn your own capacity, right? Like a lot of people, they get ready, they're pumped, they go, and then they get burnt out. But this is like a longevity thing. I want you to be my comrade for the rest of my life. So learn what your self-interest is, learn how you can utilize and provide your own skills to the movement, because it doesn't just depend on one person. It's not on my back, it's not on Hannah's, it's not on yours, Edwin, and it's not on yours, Omar. But together, there's four of us. That's more power than one of us would have. I also think a great plug-in, obviously, is to come check me out at LVSU. And Nipa Stands Up as well, and Omar at Make the Road. I think we have a lot of great things going on. We're base building, we are door knocking for ordinances, we're talking to people, we're hitting the ground, we're doing the things. Excuse me. So I think a great thing is just to like take a chance on yourself and believe that you can make a change as well in your community. I think a lot of people, they shy away because they're like, oh, well, I don't know anything. Neither do I half the time, sister, but we're here, right? Like, that's why we're here to learn from each other. They don't make it easy for us to learn. I just want to put that out there for everybody that if it was easy and access to information was easy, we would be winning a lot more fights than we're winning already. But yeah, I think taking a direct action, right? Calling, sending an email, sending a letter, and just be kind to yourself and others. We're all going through a very, very weird, tough time right now. And sometimes being part of your community can be like offering to watch your neighbor's kids so that they can go take a shower, or helping out one another and then going to a meeting together, or like one of you watches the kids, one of you does something. So I think it's just a really trivial time to take a action, get plugged in with your local progressive organization, and then see what you can do in your personal life.
Talk about powerful. Wow. Like, I love how you connected that sort of micro level of like, watch your friends' kids so they can take care of themselves, to like, you are also capable of making a change at the organizing level. And I've been talking about this a lot. I like that you touched on the fact that people are like, well, I don't know how to do these things and I don't know what to do. Get over the fact that you're going to have to admit that you don't know what to do and that you're probably going to mess it up along the way. But like, your comrades and your fellow folks in the movement are here to help you and here to teach you how to do things. So like, building those skills that you all talked about, like figuring out what your self-interest is and your capacity, getting training on canvassing and knocking on doors, all these really, really important and vital actions we can all take. How do you do that? You get plugged in to orgs like Make the Road. You get plugged into orgs like PA Stands Up. Um, and we're here to help you. That's the entire point of organizers. So,
I
you
just
know,
I wouldn't be a movement politics organizer if I didn't plug this in. Vote in your primary and vote in your general, because that is how you get bad people out of office. And that is how we can gain power and then reassess what we're fighting for. Because I would love to have a progressive bloc on city council so I didn't have to show up there till 10 p.m. anymore. So vote, and then follow our Instagram, because we're going to tell you and explain to you what's going on, especially in judicial races and local races of down ballot this year. So voting is a very important thing. We do it twice a year. Don't miss out.
yes, Sarina. I mean, top tier movement politics organizing. Yes, do follow us on socials and our chapters and Make the Road to keep up to date on how you can support your community and get plugged in. And while we're on the topic of our orgs, Omar, how can folks help support Make the Road and the work that you all do?
By coming to our meetings, helping us whenever we need to bring people somewhere. Sometimes there are protests going on, and we need to show that people are willing to come out and show that they are not in agreement with everything that's going on. Show up with us. Come to our meetings, learn what we have to say, and then relay all that information to your peers in your community.
100%. And we'll also put a link in the show notes so that you can donate to Make the Road as well, because we need people to have the power and we need organized money to do this really, really important work.
All right. I have one last question for us. I know this time has just flown through like somebody in a Nissan Altima, but it's totally fine. Um, let's end on a high note. How do you, and I think I'm going to ask everyone to do this, how do you stay hopeful doing this work when the forces feel so big? So how do you stay hopeful? Omar, let's start with you. How are you staying hopeful in this moment, man?
Uh, that was definitely something I would ask myself a lot. How am I going to stay hopeful? And I think it's just remembering that our movement is a constant struggle. We will always be fighting for a better world. And if I let myself get down like now at a very bad point like this, then I'm not going to be able to keep going forward later, which is going to be needed. While I personally, as an individual, can do a lot, I can get people to go out there. I can teach people and I can motivate others. So knowing that I should still be out there helping out with the cause is what's keeping me hopeful because I know that, yeah, we still need to be out there.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Omar. Sarina, how are you staying hopeful in this crazy moment?
Sometimes I like to assess what hope is based on the day. Sometimes it looks like having workplace boundaries where I get to enjoy the people in my life that I love. Some days it's a reminder of everything that I've overcome to be here. A lot of it is standing on the shoulders of my ancestors who suffered so that I could be outspoken, so that I could be in spaces that weren't created for me. I come from a family where like women are go-getters, but most of them have fallen into the stay-at-home role, which is definitely okay, but they have given me the freedom to do whatever I want to do in this world, and the understanding of many different walks of life people have endured. So yeah, mine is always standing on the shoulders of people who suffered before me so that I could be outspoken and be able to teach and carve a path for other people as well.
Love that, Serena. Thank you. Hannah, asking you this question too, love. How are you staying hopeful in this moment?
Well, first of all, something that Omar was touching on, like, I know that me as an individual, I can make a small difference. But because we are organizing so many people and like looking at the leaders that we're developing and like all of the volunteers who have come in, the members who have come in since I started as a volunteer at PA Stands Up, at Lancaster Stands Up in 2022, gives me a lot of hope because I know that together we are so powerful. And besides that very organizer answer, um, being silly with my comrades, planning a beach day with my girly pops who I organize with, and getting to laugh together in meetings, having a silly check-in question, and getting to find those small moments of joy and remembering that throughout history, our ancestors in the movement have found moments of joy through the struggle. And ultimately, that's what life is about. We know that this is going to be, a struggle for a better world for a long ass time. But I think that the folks who came before us have shown us that in order to keep it sustainable, we have to have fun along the way. And I love having fun with folks like all of you. What about you, Edwin?
I think you all hit the nail on the head. I think it's about having work-life balance. It's about, for me, a little sweet treat at the end of the day where I'm just like, you know what? That brownie was totally worth it. And I feel like I can carry on for tomorrow. Also being silly with my comrades, and I have a fluffy dog that I'm always walking around with, so she's around here somewhere. God only knows. But that's what's keeping me hopeful of just being able to learn from history, learn from our movement ancestors, and also like learn from our youth. Like I have some really cool like young people in my life that on days when I feel like I can't go on, I can't do stuff. My niece, who's probably 10 years old now, Nori is just shout out to Nori out in Houston, Texas. She'll just be like, Uncle Eddie, like you can totally do this. Like, why are you so upset? Get up. And I'm like, oh, you're so right. I have to get up. You're right. I have to keep moving. So that's what's giving me hope of just if the young folks are still out here being like we can continue moving, we still have to have hope. Who am I to deny them this? So I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep trying to do more stuff. And um I think that's gonna be the end of our conversation now, friends. I really thank you both for being here. Shout out to Omar and Serena for holding it down and plugging us into their work. Sorry, my dog's sleeping and snoring now. Um, but that's the end of our show, and thank you both for being here. Thank you to Omar and Serena for joining us. If you enjoyed our show, please follow us and share with your friends and enemies. And be sure to come back next month to hear about all things Pennsylvania, people, power, and politics. Until then, I'm your host, Edwin. And don't forget, Pennsylvania is for all of us. We'll see you in the streets.
This episode of News You Can Use was produced by PA Stands Up member Liz Levins, Director of Narrative Strategy Edwin Stubbs, and Digital Organizer Hannah Henrichon. If you have any questions or topic suggestions, please email us at comms@pastandsup.org.
Yay! Caw!